If I start crying, we are going to collectively just not acknowledge it, okay? I just finished reading Project Hail Mary like an hour ago. It was so good. I did the audiobook narration as several of you suggested. It was so good. I'll be doing a separate video specifically for the book review of Project Hail Mary. However, I wanted to go through and watch it, discuss our favorite scenes and stuff like that, and also kind of point out the differences where the book to movie diverged from one another. In my opinion, the differences made between the book and movie were pretty minimal, and most of what was cut was backstory, like flashbacks and stuff like that. And I think some of it was necessary just because of the runtime. This is already a 2 hour and 40-minute movie, so buckle up. And I think if they had tried to include that or include some of the like smaller nuances about the sciencey stuff, it would have become not only too long, but it would have slowed the pace of the movie too much. Whereas in a book, you have more time and space to work with. That said, I saw this movie, I think the week it came out. I went into the movie completely blind, so you can imagine my surprise. That said, if you're here just because you want to know if the movie is worth the watch, yes. If you want to know if the book is worth the read, also yes. Even if you've already seen the movie. Because I saw the movie first and I feel like I still got a lot out of the book. However, we're going to be going through and watching the movie, so if you haven't already seen the movie, maybe come back. I don't want to spoil you, especially if you're like me and you're going in blind. Let yourself go in blind. It's such a good experience. I highly recommend doing it that way. But if you're ready to watch the movie, grab your snacks and beverages, because this is a long one.
You have been in an induced coma. Difficulty speaking.
It wanting to shame him is so funny. This is really exactly how the book starts off. It's a little bit longer than this, and it really takes him a long time to be able to actually speak again. When he wakes up, he's like, he thinks that he's maybe been in some sort of coma situation with these other two people because they've maybe had some sort of disease or something that they've been quarantined for. It takes so long for him to get to this point in the book, though. That has got to be terrifying. Like the pit in your stomach. The way he does it is not by seeing that he's in space. It's like he figures it out because he realizes the way gravity's moving is wrong. In his brain, he's like, okay, so I'm not on Earth. Where am I? And like the process of him figuring out was a little more hopeful than this feels, actually. At the beginning of the book feels a little lighter than the opening of this movie.
Why is there an atomic resolution scanning electron microscope? Why do I know that?
See, stuff like
I'm
that.
smart.
Am I smart? I feel like this was a really cool addition, something we didn't see in the book, but I feel like this room in the spaceship serves a lot of purpose, particularly like obviously visually, and I think there's a good connection between the room that lights up and him trying to figure out who he is.
Current transmission time to Earth is 11 years, 10 months, 6 hours.
No, you're wrong. That's really far.
Even if you wake up knowing how to do all this stuff, that has got to be so disorienting.
That's not our son.
They did such a good job, I feel like, injecting humor into this moment because this is so incredibly terrifying. You could have as easily made this a horror film. Like, truly. The frowny face at the end. So that's how long it would take to get back if they were using normal fuel, which he obviously doesn't know or like remember the astrophage yet.
What is the Petrova line?
Ah, pass.
I love these teaching flashbacks. Him being a teacher is like such a great facilitation of being able to explain the like sciencey stuff and then actually showing it to us in a way that is short and condensed for a movie. Like, I thought this was such a good way to do it.
I heard that all the crops will die, the economy will free fall, and half the earth will die of starvation. We're all gonna die!
Oh no! How do you handle that in a classroom of kids?
Up Sunday morning.
It's a bit of a valid crash out. I'm not gonna lie. Did he IV it? Oh, I forgot about that. I was like, wait, you can't do that.
Far away, a lonely
So like, I just read this today. This part was brutally heartbreaking in the book because we get a lot more of the past crew and like the emotions connected to them. I feel like this shows it of him remembering these flashes, but it's so much more devastating when you read it.
Sunday morning coming down.
Okay, with cilantro.
It's a rise on the surface of the sun. Does it sound like a water-based life form to you?
You can see it right there. He's like, I might be right.
It's almost like you don't care if I die.
Turning around to discuss whether or not they're okay with him dying is diabolical.
It took like 200 years to figure out how bacteria work, so...
Please do it faster.
I do love how matter-of-fact Strat is.
It's a cell.
It's a cell
Applause. Okay, I've seen all over the internet that he did this part wrong or something, like scientifically. I don't really know what it's supposed to look like, to be honest, but apparently it's very, very wrong because the science community was angry.
Hydrogen.
Oh.
It's water. Theoretically, his thoughts on there being life without water are proven wrong.
I have 347 other biologists in 21 countries mobilizing as we speak.
I didn't say this in the movie, but he was the only one working on it for a little bit because Strat was worried about sending the particles to other people because she wanted to make sure that he didn't get like infected or die or anything. And he was like, so I'm a sacrifice. And she was like, yeah. My guess is that the things in there would be in case they either didn't have like as much memory as they were supposed to, because them being in the coma, they don't show this at all, but it was like a medically induced coma for years. And in the book, there's 1 in every 7,000 people who could even withstand being in the coma. It's like a specific gene of people who would be able to wake up from it and still have the mental faculties to do what he needs to do. And that ended up being a huge part of how he ended up here, was because he has that gene, and Strat had him tested for it. But I guess those symbols were to either help him along if his memory didn't come back, or if they actually did make contact with alien life force.
As soon as Quanta Quanta starts to flame.
Do you have a coupon?
We don't need a coupon with the government.
Which government?
All of them. That means they're looking for CO2.
Thus proving the Carl.
This is like so reminiscent of watching Mythbusters to me.
Carl and I made a baby.
I thought that was so funny.
We figured out how astrophage breeds.
Which is obviously a huge deal because they need to figure out how to stop that process so that it can save the sun.
It's been a long time since I've taken a pill from a stranger without knowing what it was.
I feel like we didn't get to see it quite as much, but when they were saying that, like, we're which government, all of them, it's because Strat really does have like essentially unprecedented power to do whatever she wants because we need to figure this out so quickly. And so that's why she's using all different army stuff. She has access to literally anything. And one of the flashbacks, she's in a courtroom because like companies wanted to sue her for copyright because she was using their software and whatever she wanted. It's the exact scene from Parks and Rec where Ron Swanson pulls out the paper and it's like, I can do what I want, but it's like legit.
Water for
Or
him.
coffee, that's...
I need both.
Or not.
Okay,
I've never
this is
related
kind of a
harder.
tough rule. Please go here. Thank you. And he figured out how to breed astrophage.
This Eva Strat is so much more positive than the one in the book.
The energy required to power the ship is the problem.
The astrophage is the fuel.
Provided we can make enough of it.
With this condensed explanation, they did a really good job because it makes sense in here why you need the astrophage, but it's explained so well in the book. The amount of energy that is contained in each little teeny piece of astrophage is just like insane. And I feel like it was almost good that I saw the movie first because I had like the baseline idea, and then I feel like I could dive so much deeper into it. I didn't fully understand some of the things that we covered in the movie, and it was nice to get like the deeper explanations reading it.
The astronauts die in space.
Yes.
Taking notes to say die in space is wild. I would not do well in this situation.
They'll be in comas for most of it.
But is that even safe?
Nothing about this is safe.
That's what I feel like I maybe didn't fully catch the first time I watched this, is that in theory, they never woke up in space. Like, he was the only one who made it through this coma thing, generally. And that was on top of all three of them having this specified gene that would allow you to even have your mental facilities after going through this coma. This scene, I feel like, just reminds me of the the scene from Guardians of the Galaxy, I think. I remember, like, crying at that scene. And then I saw something that said this beach that he's in now in the sort of like digital world looks like the same beach that he is on at the end of the movie, which I kind of wanted to like check this time because I didn't catch that the first watch through.
You are now orbiting Tau Ceti.
This part in the book, he's so freaked out by it that he actually throws up, and I did not know about this. I guess when he throws up, it's so gross though. He like throws up in his shirt and like presses it down because he's like, it's a choking hazard to have vomit out in the air like that because it could be particles that you could breathe in.
You have a Petrova line, but you're not dimming. Why?
So my first watch through of this, I did not know that we were going to be meeting anybody in space. So you can imagine my surprise. But it was such a pleasant surprise. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I'd already be freaking out if I was in this position, but I don't know how I'd really react to seeing someone else out there. In part, sure, you're not alone, but at the same time, I'm not sure I'd want to meet anyone out there, especially with a ship that much larger than yours. I feel like it looks like golden spaghetti, though.
No.
Yeah,
No.
I think that would be my reaction, too.
No. Pilot detected!
Please engage restraint.
Pilot detected!
And then he's right there. They did this part so incredibly well.
What do they want?
He just wants to talk and be friends. If you know a lot about space, would it really move that quickly? Because I feel like, I guess anything I've seen of space growing up is very slow moving, or at least it appears to be slow moving whenever the spaceship moves. Please, this part is so funny. This is one of the things that I think was just like so funny that they added, because he did catch it the first time in the book.
It could be a message.
He's like, it could be a weapon, it could be a message. Yeah, it could be a bomb.
Bomb? Shields up!
There are no shields on board the hill.
Why not?
That would be me, like, relying on Star Trek knowledge. Like, can you imagine Rocky on the other end, like, how long it would have taken to make the stuff inside? He's like, gotta do it again. This one's moving so much slower. I did enjoy the amount of just, like, absolute chaos in this movie. In the book, he did already know how to operate all of this equipment. He, like, didn't have to figure anything out, really. He was wondering how he knew how to do it, but he didn't, like, struggle this hard. I'm sure they have some sort of test. Nope.
No.
I'm sure they have some sort of test for, like, actual astronauts to make sure you don't get some sort of vertigo situation. I feel like, personally, if I stuck my head out of a spaceship and it was just all space around me, I'd really start to feel extremely dizzy. I don't know if that's normal. Hurry up. It was really cute in the book that when he catches it, he ends up like waving. Rocky sent something back to him, and you can see him waving from his spaceship. There's more visibility between the two in the actual book.
We make gravity.
Centrifuge?
Centrifuge.
We don't get to see it here because I just feel like there's really not enough time. When he's talking to that scientist, she recognizes his name and she's like, why is he here? Because he had, you know, kind of gone after the leading scientist in his field and he's sort of infamous in the science community. I feel like they did a good job in the book of showing it because I don't know how to describe it. Like how intense the situation was that all these scientists, they had to put aside any type of political differences, any type of interpersonal scientific thought process differences, like any of that. They just knew that they had to work together, and the way that Strat organized it all. She had her methods that were questionable, but it was, I feel like, so cool to see the conversations between the scientists, which we saw a lot more of in the book.
I mean...
A stupid idea. And then also this is like when he realizes that Rocky's atmosphere is made of ammonia.
You're a long way from home.
This is the part that I think would really creep me out. I just don't know how I would react to this. I try to put myself in the position of the main character. And to be honest, I'm not going out into that tunnel. And it's like, it's interesting because like in some ways, the Iridians are like technologically not as advanced as Earth, but then also they have stuff that can like build that quickly. Because even though things are sped up in the movie, like still Rocky manages to build that tunnel extremely quickly. When we were in the theater at this point, I was getting very ready for a jump scare. I didn't even know what genre of movie this was going into it. And I'm definitely a scaredy cat about horror films. So I thought I was gonna need to exit the theater potentially. And I understand wanting to kind of like play this up for dramatic purposes. In the book, Ryland's like a little bit more excited than cautious. Like he's more like, oh my gosh, I just made like first contact with aliens. It's so cute, puppet show. So this is definitely something I didn't understand when we first watched the movie, of Rocky wanting him to go back to a ship, and I was like, why do you want him to go back? But it was because like Rocky was trying to figure out what type of air could be used in the tunnel for Grace, and so like once he had gathered data, he needed Grace to go back so that he could fix the environment and stuff. But that is something I never would have caught just from this scene without knowing the background of the book.
It is not advised to modify the centrifugal settings of the ship.
See, I feel like you have to have a really strong grasp of what you're doing if you're undoing some of these systems. You are literally in space. There's no one coming to fix it if you mess something up. And this is like the type of scene that I really love in a movie when they're figuring it out and like just showing their expertise. I think it's just like so cool that he built all of this himself. He's just ready to go out with this random lighting setup that he just made from the stuff that's in the spaceship. It's just wild.
What?
So he realizes that like the temperature and in theory the air makeup is suitable to him not even needing the spacesuit. So it's so cool because Rocky saw that he used specifically the clear panel to look through, which I think was xenon. And so he made the whole thing like that so that Grace could see him. I think it's really cool that they did this in a way that's like pretty book accurate. Like in the book, Rocky's a little more curious, like a little less shy. And they have less misunderstanding in the book. But I thought it was cool that they didn't do any type of like necessarily like a face on him. And I was watching like some behind the scenes stuff and they were talking about how that was, you know, how do we make something lovable when you can't even see the face at all? And so much of it comes down to body language and stuff. Apparently like some of this poses that he's doing and stuff are from the Barbie movie, being Ken. There was like similarities between what he was doing with Rocky and that movie, which I think is really fun.
I don't have one of these. I love it.
Yeah, that's gotta be so frustrating to try and like explain scientific concepts when you have no common language.
2 rings of 8. Oh, 2.
I don't know.
I still don't think I can do it.
Yeah, I don't think I would do it. I don't think I could take my helmet off like that. Rocky also gave him in the book another set of those rings to explain what his atmosphere was like. And it's like extremely pressurized and mostly ammonia or something. And I feel like the silent battle we don't see here is the fact that he does know that he's Earth's last chance. And so anything he does is like such a huge risk because if he dies, then that really is like, oh well, like mission failed. Yeah, can you imagine the relief? He's wearing a Cats the Musical t-shirt. That's incredible.
It's the betrothal line. We're here for the same reason.
This scene is so cute. You can see like the texture but can't actually read differences in color. That's why you can't see any of the actual numbers on the tape measure. I feel like that's really helpful that they showed us that.
Version of this is our thumbs up. Nope. That's the...
Apparently they had to make that up because the little puppet that they made, it could only do thumbs down or something because he does thumbs up normally in the book.
I showed you a clock and you're showing me a clock. We're
Clock bros.
Rocky. My name, can't wait to hear this, is Grace.
Like,
what's your word for my name?
he didn't really have a ship log like this in the book. That's one of those changes that they made to make it easier as far as like narrative goes for viewers. This is so the toothless moment of him like doing the face thing.
Why is a school teacher in space? Question. Don't like that voice.
Can't unhear it.
Scary.
Meryl Streep?
Why is a school teacher in space?
She can do anything.
Why is a school teacher in space?
I absolutely love how they came across his voice because that's the voice of the like head puppeteer, and they decided it just worked best because the two of them were always already communicating, and it really did turn out to be like such a good match.
I watched Grace sleep.
No, that's fine. That's a little weird.
He's scared Grace is gonna die. Like it's so sad. In the book, Grace has a bit more understanding of why Rocky would want to watch it. Like at first he's like, oh, he wants to watch me for scientific research, obviously, of course. And so he like kind of sleeps because of that, and over time realizes how important it is to Rocky.
We have the option to end our lives on our terms.
In the book, that guy says that he wants a gun. It's much more dark. That conversation lasts a lot longer in the book. And it's really sad because that guy's like, I'll go last just in case your lethal injections don't work. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It gets, I mean, obviously, like, it's a dark topic, but it's a lot darker in the book. That is crazy. Over and over, everyone in the book, they were like, this would be amazing if it wasn't gonna cause the end of the world, because it has so much energy.
I don't have the bravery gene that you all have.
Strat's like, we gotta fix that.
Hi, Grace.
You're in a ball.
No Rocky, no Diane, Grace atmosphere. I come up.
I love this scene so much.
Amazing. Rocky wanted to be human technology. Dirty.
So in the book, Rocky actually asks permission to come onto the ship so that they can perform their experiments and stuff. But I love the way they did it. Like, this is one of those times where I feel like the change for the comedic quality of it was so worth it. Because Grace actually, in the book, he's like, yes, of course, please come on to my spaceship so, like, you can see human technology. And, like, he even talks multiple times about how he's so jealous that he doesn't go on to Rocky's spaceship because he wants to see, you know, Iridian technology. I think it works really well. In the book, Grace views Rocky almost like an adult. I feel like in a lot of ways Rocky is sort of like almost like a student or like more of a child.
Mission.
Separately. Okay.
Where's my bedroom?
Bedroom!
And then also in the book, Rocky's like very embarrassed by how he eats. Again, a change that I think was like really funny for the movie. In the book, he like wants to go off by himself to eat because he's embarrassed of how he eats.
Personal space.
Is at a premium.
Who is Grace talking to? Question.
That is where he is.
Hello, Grace.
He's right here.
Hello, Grace, friend.
His species doesn't know about things like relativity and radiation.
So that's him explaining that how the radiation killed Rocky's crew. And then also, we don't see it in here because I feel like it just would have taken too much time. But when he said relativity, like I didn't catch that at first. It's like Interstellar when he's traveling and it takes way less time because he's traveling through space. And so however many years it is for him, it's like 3 years when he's traveling, but 13 years have passed on Earth. Rocky has so much more fuel than he thought he was going to need. And he's like, oh, it's because it took less time for you. But when you did the math on Arid, you thought it was going to take twice as long. So they packed twice as much fuel.
I didn't think of that.
I did.
We figured out a plan.
His little overalls, I can't.
The beach is always changing. You could go to the same spot every day. You're always looking at a different beach.
Which is obviously a nice tie into then when he's at the beach in Arid.
Grace have mate? Question.
I mean, I did. Now she's with Mark.
Rocky hate Mark.
Apparently he said that because like one of the producers' names was Mark and he wanted to make him laugh, and that was like completely ad-lib, which I think is so cute. In the book, he didn't know if his mate was like with someone else. I was like, that's so sad. No wonder we didn't include that in this movie. It was a deeply depressing idea. That relationship is so sad because they know the main pilot guy is gonna die, or if he can't make it for some reason, she's the backup pilot. It's like a doomed relationship.
Yao is singing. Everyone's so happy. People
At this point in the first watch through, I thought that maybe they were gonna get together. Which now, knowing the rest of the story, I'm like, that's a ridiculous assumption to make. They talk a little bit in one of the flashbacks in the book where like Strat is fully aware that she's gonna go to jail after Project Hail Mary takes off. She's like, right now I have like all this clearance because they had to give it to someone to make sure that this project happens, because I think everyone's aware that it has to happen and that it has to move too quickly for all the normal legality checks and stuff like that to go through. And she's like, once Project Hail Mary takes off, I sure hope it works because like I'm gonna be in jail. That's almost her like also accepting that a lot of the people who work on this, they're gonna pay dearly for it, even though they're doing the right thing. And this is their stern, fearless leader having such a moment of vulnerability. Like, I thought they did such a good job with this scene. She wants to have, I think, this connection with people, but she also knows that she's going to backstab anyone who stands in the way of the project. Obviously, that's what she does to Grace. Grace doesn't end up wanting to go to space. And she, I think, partly feels like she can't create connections with people because she doesn't have the time. And she can't afford to be emotionally connected to anybody in this project because she really has to view them as expendable variables. Because even though she is like a cold person, I think she's a good example of, you know, like when you have to like get something done and you're like, I can deal with the emotional fallout of this situation later, but I just have to push through. Her character is a really good representation of that on such an intense and massive scale. At this point in the original watch through, I still thought that the two of them were gonna fall in love. It's not how this movie went, but... And also, I feel like people have been talking about this a lot. They did such a good job at making just a genuinely beautiful movie. Like, visually, this is amazing. And it's why, like, after I saw it in theaters, I kept telling people to go see this, and they're like, I'll see it when it comes on streaming. I was like, no, go to the theater and actually see this, because the in-space shots are so, like, worth it. That's so cool. Obviously, like, that's the stuff eating the sun, but they did a really good job of making it look, like, awesome. This was the part that people said was wrong. Like, apparently you're supposed to put the things across from each other or something. They've collected astrophage, but when he looks at it, he's gonna see, like, all these other organisms that were from Adrian.
There's life on Adrian. What?
Life on Adrian is reason astrophage imbalance. Life on Adrian makes astrophage die.
Now we have to actually go down onto the planet, which is why this scene is so concerning. Like, you could hear a pin drop in that theater. We were all just watching.
Grace die? Question?
Yeah, once we're done, you're gonna die.
But he hasn't made peace with it. And you can tell it's hard for him to say that.
Tiny thumbs up.
Tiny thumbs up.
You are... Need word.
To risk self to help another.
Dumb.
That's a theme that I really like in this book, is later, obviously, when he remembers what actually happened to him, he feels like a coward because he realizes that he had to be put on the ship by himself, like by Strat, and he didn't make the choice, and now he has to make the choice to be brave. And it's something that he does do when he decides to go back and get Rocky.
How much astrophage you need? Question?
Grace say Grace will die. Rocky fix.
Have you guys seen the TikTok trend of this line with everyone showing their freaking pets? Genuinely can't handle it. This is such a powerful moment in the story generally, but also, like, for Grace to have hope for the first time for himself. It's like he's been focused so much on the mission because he's trying to distract himself from the pain of realizing that he's never going back to Earth.
Question?
I didn't mean any of that. You're good.
See, like, moments like this was not in the book. See, that was when she would have originally responded that she knew she was going to be in jail. But they kind of, like, combined two of the flashbacks. The two scientists, they were, like, running their last test. They wanted to, like, make sure something was okay with the engine, and they miscalculated how much astrophage they were using. Instead of a nanogram, they had a milligram, and it was, like, kind of an emphasis of, yes, we have all these competent people, but we are dealing with something that we have no idea about, and it's so powerful because the whole point was, like, nobody could tell visually the difference between a nanogram and a milligram because they're both such small units. Yes, we're doing this, but there's this sense added by that accident of, like, we actually have no idea what we're doing, and it really adds an extra layer of just, like, terror. And if you know that, paired with this clip of what he's about to do with the going fishing scene, which is such a manual process, it really, like, enriches that part of the story, in my opinion. It took them 2 weeks to make the chain that they needed for this mission. Like, it took them so long to physically make the chain. And then on top of it, they have to be really careful that it doesn't get knotted. The idea was, like, imagine your earbuds getting tangled, but it's like 12 miles longer. Yeah, I would not want to be outside during this time. And obviously, they did such a great job with the score, but I saw people online saying that they're listening to this score while they're working, and I'm like, does it not give you anxiety? I feel like in the back of it, it has that sort of, like, sound to it that's not settled, you know? And obviously it shouldn't be for this scene, but terrifying to just listen to this while you're trying to, like, do some emails. Can you imagine if he dropped it? Yeah. That's not what you want to hear when you're, like, outside your spaceship. I act as if I haven't seen this movie. This is so nerve-wracking. Oh, heck no. Close the door, close the door, close the door. It's like the reason they're having this issue, they didn't anticipate it, was because, yeah, their fuel is astrophage, and they just went to the planet that, like, the astrophage is going to be attracted to. And so they've, like, he's lost almost all of his fuel. And so now they're trying to get out of this orbit, but because they're going to start spinning so much, it, like, creates centrifugal force, and it pushes him into the computers. And that's why it happened, which I didn't fully follow all of that when I first watched the movie. Gravity. That like makes me nauseous watching it, honestly. Ugh. And Earth's atmosphere is obviously like toxic to him, and Rocky does this knowing that like there's every chance that he's sacrificing himself for Grace. I feel like the ship works a little more closely than we see in the book. Like it's more, almost a little more AI-ish than you would expect it to be in the book, I guess, but it had to work for this. I feel like I understand the changes they made for this scene to make it more dramatic, of Rocky leaking this like fog, sort of. It's something that in the book happens after.
Casualty projections go up exponentially if we delay. We launch on schedule with a replacement science officer.
Who?
It's you, buddy. They had like all these people lined up who wanted to go on this mission in the book, but the problem is like so many of them don't have the gene to be able to go through the medical coma. And that's like one of the biggest problems.
Can I think about this?
You have 3 hours.
That's crazy. When Grace has this flashback, he's even like, wow, I must have, made this brave decision. And that's why it's really hard for him when he finally remembers how he got up there, where he was like, oh, I didn't make the brave decision, like I'm a coward. And then he has to make all these brave choices to save Rocky. And that's how you can see the nice character arc throughout the story is through these flashbacks, and then him understanding who he was and who he's become now. And the fact that like he did rise to the occasion, even though he thought he would never be able to do something like that.
I want you to sleep, Pop.
At this point, I was streaming tears in the theater, whereas in the book, Grace is conducting experiments, and then he's trying to sort of like expel, it looks like soot and ash and stuff from Rocky's body. It turns out it was like actually the scabs of him healing. So Rocky was like, you actually almost killed me, but you didn't. So it being clear, there's no astrophage in it to begin with, and then also when he puts new astrophage in it, it like eats it. Which is like such a crazy moment, because he's now just like found the way to save the entire planet, if not any solar system that has this issue. Yeah, I think I'd be in shock too. Because I think this whole time, like he was trying because he's like, I'm here and I have to try. But there's a difference between continuing to try and then realize that you've actually done it, and it's like an actually possible thing.
Right now I'm calling it Amoeba. You'll have a lot to say about why that's a bad name.
Yeah, so I'm in the theater at this point thinking that Grace is talking to the corpse of Rocky, and this was his only way of maintaining any type of sanity, was by talking to his dead best friend, and I was really not coping well.
I had to figure out how to breed a new strain of nitrogen-resistant amoeba.
This was a huge part of the book, was trying to figure out how to breed the nitrogen-resistant amoeba. But they didn't really have time for that in this movie. That's one of those things where I'm like, it was a good change, because it would have just been a lot of science scenes without very much action, I guess. And like in theory, those are drawings from Grace's students. How does he have those if not like Strat letting his school know in advance? Way faster. In the book, there's like a couple days in between Grace finding out that he's gonna die, and then he actually wakes up basically in prison, and he has this time in between where he knows he's gonna go on this journey. But in the movie, we don't see that. And so I feel like maybe that's like a teeny tiny plot hole as far as just the movie goes. But it's interesting that Strat had the heart to reach out to his school, unless those are pictures from kids, generally speaking, for the crew, which could also be possible. The way I sobbed when I saw that hamster ball moving. Aww. His little party outfit, are you kidding? It's so cute.
Is special clothing for celebration.
It'd be pretty cool to see your ship.
I'm glad they added that, Because this part's not in the book. And I think it's so fun that they built him, first of all, his own little, like, Rocky suit. And then it was something that he really wanted in the book, was to see Rocky's spaceship. And it didn't really happen. Obviously, he goes back to Aerith, so he sees all sorts of stuff from them. But in this moment, it's a nice little full circle moment for Grace. I'm not gonna lie, I do not understand structurally what's going on here.
I can't do it. You'll find a solution.
You are my solution.
This is so sad. Because you know that she wanted him to choose to
My
go.
place is in the classroom.
Stop pretending this is about your students. It's so insulting.
I think that's also a fair reaction from Strat as well. She's like, please don't try to explain this in a way that makes you feel better about yourself, sort of.
You're not. Come on. What are you doing?
He did such a good job in this scene, by
May
the way.
seem like me betraying you, but it's actually me believing in you.
I appreciate that we allowed Grace to have this moment of like weakness. It's very relatable and human for him to be like, I understand why I should do it, but I just can't. But I think it's also such a theme of the story of how far is too far, what sacrifices and choices are okay. Because she really is trying to save the world. So is it okay to chase someone down and force them on a spaceship to save billions of people? Like, on paper, it seems like yes. But then we're watching this and it feels wrong. And so I feel like that's a really interesting theme and question of the story, is what is okay to do in like the name of the overall sake of humanity. And everybody sort of has their own line where they're going to draw that. Because if Strat hadn't forced him to go, you could say that she made the right choice because he got to choose. But if she forced him like she did, you could also say she made the right choice.
My friend.
Yes, friend.
Not sure what to say. So
This is so sad.
just gonna.
Besties that think they're never going to see each other again.
You are very brave.
Well, I don't know about that.
Again, a perfect timing of the contrast between that flashback of him realizing that he had that moment of cowardice and now Rocky's calling him brave. I know it's supposed to be cute, but I don't like this scene. In the book, it's like wild because he has to decide if he wants to risk going back into the medical induced coma thing. And he, at least in the part that we see, he decides that it's not worth doing because of the risk. But he's like, you know, maybe I'll change my mind when the food starts to run out and he has to go back to the like powdered slop that they were feeding him with. And then also he like keeps checking Rocky's location. It's so deeply upsetting.
Contaminant detected.
Oh, this part is so brutal. And it's got to be so disheartening because like you realize all this work that you put in, it might still be lost. Like I can't imagine like putting in that level of work and having something like that popping up, like an obstacle in that way popping up.
The problem is the xenonite. The amoeba can't get through it. Rocky's ship is built of xenonite. He's looking at a long, painful death.
And this is why the arc is so good for Grace's character. He makes the choice that he couldn't make at the beginning of the story, to go and sacrifice himself. And so he's deciding to send, they call him like the Beatles, to send those things home with all the information that they need, because he knows that if he goes and saves Rocky, he's not going to be able to go back to Earth because he's going to use his fuel to go get Rocky. And honestly, I'm just like so impressed that he was able to navigate space to even find the ship. We get to see more of that in the book. It's honestly just so impressive and shows he is so well equipped for this job. No matter how you feel about it, Strat was right about his abilities. At this point, you show up, he has decided to not go back to Earth. Like he's not going to have the food to get back to Earth at this point. So he might have just given up his last chance at going home, and Rocky might already be dead. I was so excited to see that little spider. At this point, Rocky knows that his ship is basically stranded. Like it's eaten through the fuel lines and stuff like that. And so he knows that Grace has come back to save him.
I am Rocky. I am Rocky from Aaron. I am not Rocky from movie. No, 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 no.
So they didn't have time to get into it. She's going through Arctic. Something that they did to prolong the amount of time that Earth had to handle the issue was they broke apart all these massive like glaciers and stuff to release the methane gas purposefully, adding more global warming to the planet to keep it warm while they're trying to figure out this issue as the sun is dying. It was so dire, that scene in the book, and like watching these environmental scientists who had dedicated their lives to stopping global warming trying to explain how to do it and then having to go through with that plan. It was wild.
Why always gotta be so early?
And he understands the language without needing his computer and stuff. It's so cute. I honestly think they did such a good job wrapping this up because it didn't feel as tied up with a bow at the end of the book as I feel like this did. And also in the book he was like 50 something by the time they'd gotten back and had this conversation, because I feel like that part of it was more realistic because he was like, the intense gravity and pressure isn't good for my joints and stuff like that, but we don't want to see that at the end of the movie, I guess. He curls under himself. He does like a cat loaf. Like, it's so cute.
Who can tell me the speed of light?
Oh, baby Rockies. It's so cute. Something I was glad that they didn't keep from the book, because I was shook reading the end of this. Grace starts to eat the Talmiba. Like, that's what he eats, because he tells Rocky, he's like, if I go back with you, I'm gonna die, I've accepted this. And then Rocky's like, well, you can't eat the astrophage because it's too hot, but what about the Talmiba? And so he's able to eat it for a little bit, and then the Iridians sort of like figure out how to get him the proper like vitamins and stuff. And then they figure out how to replicate Grace's own tissue for him to eat it, because there's no meat that he can eat on Arid because it's like infused with all these metals and he can't have the heavy metals. And I was sitting there and I was like, cannibalism? And then even Ryland's narration, he's like, yeah, don't judge me if... I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad we didn't put that in the movie. I was like, what? We were doing so well. There has to be another way. And there wasn't. That was just like, that's how it ended. Something about that just really threw me off. Like, oh, what a time. I absolutely love that movie. I feel like I've told everybody to watch it because I think it was so well done. It was so beautiful. Like, they did such a great job. And generally speaking, I feel like it really was a very accurate and close adaptation. I'm not always mad when producers make changes because like some things just don't work as well on screen. We needed to cut down the amount of flashbacks or this movie would have had to be 2 parts. It would have been that long. And then also I feel like they added extra bits of comedy that work better for the movie. I'm not upset about the changes they made. I know there's some people who like they really just want that word for word adaptation, and trust me, I understand. But over the past couple of years, I've been like, I've started to better understand why book to movie choices are made, especially in this case. Like, I agree with the stuff that they did. And I feel like if you want more backstory, it's worth reading the book. And I feel like it was worth reading it for me, because I love to spot the differences, obviously. As far as getting the story and getting the heart and themes of the story, it's all still there. And that's the important part when you're making an adaptation. So I really do think they nailed it. Interested to hear your thoughts and feelings / book to movie changes that you caught that I didn't. I really did. Like, I read it really quickly. I had that audiobook on a 2.5 clip, which is about like the max that I can have before I like almost can't hear it anymore. But I wanted to get the story in my brain before I watched the movie again. So I'll be doing a full review of the book so I can talk about all of the little things separately, or else this video will start to go very, very, very long. Please like this video if you liked it. Click subscribe if you want to talk about more book and or movie stuff. My name's Katelyn. Thanks for watching. Bye.